Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show in the Storehouse Media Group podcast. I'm with entrepreneur, author, Ed Chaffin. Ed, thanks for stopping by. And I wanted to hear about your entrepreneur journey. What you've done, you have credibility. You sold a business. A lot of people out there are talking, they're the gurus of everything, and they've never done something that's not very easy, and that's selling a business and profiting on what you've built. And congratulations for doing that. But talk about, I'm going to go right from that part of the story.
Great, Neil. Let me clarify something. It was not my company. It was a publicly traded company. I was one of the executives. I ran our largest division, which was 1,200 employees, about 150 million in revenue. That division, by the way, had been the sum total of 7 acquisitions. We did 12 acquisitions as we built that company from 5 million to 300 million, sold it for 1.4 billion in 2007. And then again, 2008, reinvented as an international leadership consultant and executive coach. So that's the connector. So it wasn't my company, but heavily involved in the selling process and the wooing of the company that bought us and whatnot. So just to clarify that piece, Neil.
All right. So no, that's
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So not just, but you still were part
yeah.
of that.
You
So
got it.
talk about that journey of
Yeah.
doing that and then saying, what am I going to do next? Right.
Well, and there's just, and I'm a storyteller, probably just like you, Neil. And that when I retired, when they announced my retirement, I got 150 emails, whatever the number was. I copied printed every one of those, put them in a folder, and I don't know how I knew this, but I told my wife, when we get moved back to Atlanta, I'm going to sit down. There's a key to my future in these emails. Now, Neil, if you had asked me prior to that, Ed, how many people did you coach and mentor in the 14 years you were with that company? I'd have said 10 or 12.
Right.
Neil, there were 80, 90, I don't know. I quit counting at some point of people that used different words, but the impact that I had made on people that I had no idea. And I had met a guy in a workshop right prior to this that was one of Ken Blanchard's top executive coaches. And I came out of my office in Atlanta, and my wife was in the kitchen, and I was holding up this folder, and I said, Eva, I figured out what I want to be. I'm going to be John Arnold. I'm going to be an executive coach because I just saw the impact that I as a leader had made. And it's actually one of the things I coach to quite often is you have no idea the impact that you're making on people. You are always leading as a leader. And so that was my future was in those. So I began the journey of becoming a certified coach with the International Coach Federation, some other certifications and whatnot, and the rest is history.
And see, here's the thing that you saw that the impact you make. And when you
Yeah.
are authentic, you are here to help.
Mm,
You're not looking at people as a threat. And you
right.
really look at leadership and grow for that person. They truly respect you more. And they truly also understand you're truly there to care for them, not to drive your agenda. And I think that's
Yeah.
important. Explain that kind of thought process in the way that you worked with people as an executive.
Well, the way what you just described to me, Neil, is servant leadership. In other words, it's not about me. It's about how do I lift you up? How do I help you be a better human, a better leader, a better person for the people that you're blessed to serve as well. And so that impact that I have, and as a coach, and again, I'm very humble about it from the standpoint, I get a lot of opportunity to make a big impact with executives now and teams. And I don't take that lightly. I think I think it's what God put me on the planet to do, and the fact that I'm still able to do it at my age, and the fact that I just feel very blessed to have figured out what I'm supposed to be doing and to making an impact.
And I think that's the powerful thing that
Yeah,
you're bringing up is you feel blessed to be able to make that impact, and that
yeah,
impact is the powerful thing at the end of the day that moves you forward. Because what you're saying to yourself is, I am not going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on others.
yeah.
The best leaders, even if you see these top positions, a lot of times it's not about them as CEOs. You see a lot of people out there calling them CEOs, but they're all about their brand and not about how am I going to help you, but also how am I going to make that organization big? They speak about the organization instead of themselves, right? That's key.
It is, and Neil, there's so many leaders, and I'll just put everybody in one bucket that claim our people are our most important asset. But then, do they really live it out?
Right.
Is the everyday actions that they do does it communicate that same message? And the answer we have in a lot of corporations is no. That is not true. It's a great slogan. It sounds great, but when it comes down to, are we making our numbers? Are we publicly traded? And are we going to have to report some bad numbers? Next thing you know, there's 10% of the workforce gone, and people don't matter. And so it really, in fact, I sent an email to one of my CEO clients this morning because he sent me an email introducing me to one of his executives on Saturday. And I just questioned him, hey, what kind of culture are you trying to establish? Are you looking to establish a work-life balance culture? Because if you are, remember, you set the tone for the culture. And if you expect people to respond to you on the weekend, work-life culture just went out the window. Or work-life balance, I mean, just went out the window. So, again, leaders are always leading. Everything they do is being observed, and it sets the standard for what's acceptable.
It totally sets the standard, and that standard is something very, very powerful at the end of the day, in so many ways. So, talk about, you don't work with individuals; you work with companies, right?
I do, yes, I work with companies, but I coach individuals one to one, and then I coach teams as well.
Do
So
you go with the
often
company first to set everything up? How does that work with you?
it totally depends. A lot of times, if I get introduced, just recently, the same CEO I mentioned, I was introduced by a board member from his investors that hey, he needs a coach. He wants to talk to you. So I started working with him directly. Now it looks like I'm going to be working with some more of his team. So it just really kind of depends. Sometimes, but I'm usually talking to the executives first and foremost. Yeah,
Interesting. So
yeah.
talking to the executives first versus the other way, and
Well,
then that
they have the money.
that's true. And what do the executives see in this landscape today with the evolution of AI, with the stress
Oh,
factor of all the different things? Because honestly, I am like huge in AI and love it to
yeah,
death.
yeah,
But ultimately, I see it as a fear in marketing and podcasting and everything. If I don't become the very best in AI, I'm going to be eliminated. And that's how I have placed it. But I say that's also placed it as an opportunity. Two things.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, what do these executives see with how the landscape's changing, the way the business model, the way that you have to be more of a team player, you have to be in the weeds more as an executive than you had to do it before, and how people respond to that.
Well, so I'm right there with you on AI. I have embraced it in a major way in the work that I'm doing. We've heard the term VUCA for a long time. It came out of the military: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. What AI has done has accelerated that in quantum numbers. Some X factor. We also have to look. Let's just say I'm a CEO of a 5,000 employee company. If you think about a bell curve, there's some of the early adopters in the company that are jumping on AI and learning how to make it their jobs better and the company better. Then there's some people that come along, and then there's people that aren't making that curve. And so every CEO, every executive is faced with that dilemma of, how do I bring AI in a way that people understand, people can adapt and adopt, and also not live in fear that their jobs are going to be replaced. And I think we're already seeing, Ford's the classic example, laid off 300 people. They've already had to hire them back because the institutional knowledge walked out the door, right? And so we're hearing some examples of that already
Oh,
in
I
this.
already know because like today, literally wasted 2 hours fixing bugs on my agent I built. It's great. It's helped
Yeah,
me already
yeah,
increase my profitability and all these things. But guess what? It didn't work today. That
yeah,
can't work in a corporate environment. I'm tweaking and testing and developing while doing other things. And I lost 2 to 3 hours of my day. But I'm
yeah,
not upset because I'm enjoying this because it's increasing my productivity through the roof. But for
yeah,
an organization that already has everything running well and they throw AI
yeah,
in and it bottlenecks them, that's costs of shareholders, everyone.
yeah,
That's where I call the
exactly.
believable lie of AI. They're selling a product that truly is not ready for market. My take. I'm as
Mm,
an AI enthusiast, it's
yeah,
not ready
yeah,
for market unless
yeah,
you spend a lot of money and then have people that willing to adopt the stuff.
yeah,
So that's an
exactly.
interesting thing you brought up. So
Yeah.
that's so when are we gonna see the evolution of AI? What is your take, Ed? People fear
Oh,
that
wow.
everyone's gonna lose their job, gonna be out the door.
Well, I
Yes,
think
no, yeah, go.
yeah, I was going to say, Neil, it just depends on who you read or who you talk to. Are we in the second inning of AI? Are we in the seventh inning? You were somewhere in, I think, in the early innings of it. And so
Right.
I don't think I'm qualified to say when are we going to see the effects. We are going to see, here's what I think I am qualified to say. We're going to see the full effects of AI a lot faster than people think we are. People were initially predicting a couple of years ago, 5 to 7 years. We're now probably looking at 3 years, right? Or less, right?
Or
That's
less. But the
or
problem
less.
is that they're not marketing it the way it should be marketed.
Well,
AI is a teaching tool, it's a
yeah,
productivity tool. You just got to put a human in to make your company strong.
that's it.
If you eliminate the human, I don't care, it might be less talent, but better efficiency.
Yeah.
That is going to be the model. If people don't see that they don't, oh, I'm going to eliminate AI completely, I'm out. But I don't like that the major large language models are trying to give this lie, and I want your take on this, Ed, that it's going to replace the human to everyone that
Yeah.
they're selling to.
Yeah, and it's already being exposed as a lie. I like the way you say that. In that, and so companies are having to do, I think, some backtracking. I mean, just look at what's happened to some of the software services companies like Salesforce. Their stock has been hammered. So we jumped in and bought a bunch of it a few months ago because it's oversold as far as the impact AI is going to have on software as a
You
service
think a
companies.
big company like that would have already known and got their hands dirty to figure out it's not
Well, they
ready?
have. Well, they have, and at some level, but it's the market that's saying, "Oh, companies like Salesforce are going to be materially impacted for a long time to come." And I was like, "No, they'll come back. They're too solid of a company. They're too strong. They got great leadership. They will figure out how to use AI, but AI is not going to destroy the software as a service model, in my opinion." Again, I'm no expert, but that's what I believe.
See, and Ed, you never thought you'd talk AI, but this is the bottom line is when you get in these calls with these executives, here's what I tell them. And I'm sure you need to embrace AI and you have to understand it and develop it and all of it. Because you know what some of the executives say? Oh, well, we just proved it's not going to work. No, I've already figured out a business model and I'll share it for you. Is I want to bring in me, AI team, and a few humans that just do the project management and the virtual assistant side of it
Hmm.
through text and allowing AI to manage it. And it's going to work tremendously. Why? Because the efficiency will still be me. The low end
Hmm.
tasks will be handled by humans, and the
Hmm.
AI will do all the heavy lifting. And that is the next model for it. And if you're looking at a team projects have to be one person. Let's say you're the project manager. Now you have to become better at sales. Now you
Yeah.
have to become better at marketing. You have to combine all those, but you
Right.
can with the great ability that AI is able to bring to the table with your brain, your
Yeah.
knowledge. And they're
Yeah.
all going to lie, the ones that are trying to invest. Because if we find an AI bubble that blows everything to the ground, guess who gets blamed at the end of the day? The
Yeah.
AI, and the market crashes. So we're going to have to continue to see that believable lie. And I'll
Yeah.
tell anyone the best thing to do is AI and a human are way better than a human. AI by
Absolutely. All
itself
day long.
is not better than a human.
And you're spot on. And it has revolutionized my coaching. And I'll give you one example.
I'm going to hear that.
I
Yeah.
I am certified in an assessment I've been using for 27 years. Um, when I start a one-to-one coaching project, I usually do a 360, a qualitative, where I interview anywhere from 6 to 15 people. I then would take that information, create an executive summary looking for the strengths of that executive and some of the gaps, where's the growth opportunities. Then I would map that to this assessment data. This assessment, by the way, is one of the most powerful social emotional intelligence tools ever created. The creator was a mentor of mine for about 10 years. That effort used to take me 6 to 8 hours minimum. I'm doing it all now in 15 minutes.
Isn't that crazy? No, I mean,
And the
literally,
output is just off the chart as well. And then it gives me a 60 or 90-day coaching plan to work on those gaps and whatnot. And it's just revolutionized what I'm able to put in my clients' hands. I worked on it this morning. I've got an offsite coming up for 6 executives in Oregon on September 1st. And I worked on using AI this morning to create an exercise for them because they're already a very high performing team. We're looking at, well, what's that little bit of a gap that's going to get them that
right.
1% extra as a
And
team?
then the amount of time that would have taken you, Ed, with your knowledge would be 10, 15, 20 hours would more for your time.
Totally. Yeah.
Now
If I
it's
could have even come up with it, right?
okay, it's true. So tell you what I've built. I've built, and I'm going to be building this for other people. I've built in Claude now, even though I just found out listening to Marketing School podcast, ChatGPT can do the same. So I'm gonna have to test it out in chat now. Even though I
Okay.
like Claude better because Claude
I do too.
is more for an exec. But I have no idea. Maybe they think it's cheaper, whatever. He says he was talking to chat voice, which I thought was crap. I guess it's improved, and I've been having issues with voice on the phone. So I went this, but I built for myself a fractional CFO,
Mm,
CEO, executive assistant, and bookkeeper all in one chat. Built it into putting into
wow.
25 to 30 files that's a zip with a knowledge prompt. A prompt that starts everything all combined with in the zip. And then after it runs out of the chat, you download the zip, you download the starting prompt, and you start again. And it's unreal what I've accomplished in over 3 weeks
Mm,
of
mm,
growth, organization, and development that I was able to do with that. Now, I could
yeah.
have built that with OpenClaw. Even people, Hermes and OpenClaw, people are leaving. They're like, I'm out. We can't do this anymore. Hermes, OpenClaw, it's over, meaning that they're finding out that costs way more money than just staying with the correct tools. That's what I've heard
Yeah.
from some of the other AI people. But I was like, holy cow, I couldn't do this I was working just chasing through all the challenges, losing client, not clients, losing a team, hiring
Teams.
another team, developing all this stuff. Then by doing this heavy lifting, I finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what you
Mm,
do for an organization. It's
yeah.
me and AI. I built an AI team that I will have virtual
Mm,
assistants managing certain parts of the aspects, but I'm going
sure.
to build something just around me and my worth, and that's what I'm building. And it's already worked, but now
Yeah.
I can scale it further. Why?
Well, you're
Because I worked with AI. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say you're further ahead on this AI stuff than I am. Then I haven't gotten to the building the agents to actually take care of some of the tasks and things that I
I
do.
already have loops running too on other things,
Sure.
so I'm building all that, and I'm launching an AI consulting firm with somebody else, even though it's not going to be part of Media Giant Productions. So I have all
Mm,
those things in development. But what I'm saying is that's the power that's missing. You
yeah.
can dismiss it. It's not as smart as a human. Yes, it's not as smart as a human, but it can produce 80,000 times faster than a human
Exactly.
or more. I
Or
mean,
more.
or
Well, and
yeah,
and the research it's able to do, like this morning when as I was building my prompts for this particular project, knowing that it's got to go out there and find the data, and it would take me hours or days if I could find it on my
right.
own. So the fact that it can do that, I think that whole project I had Claude do this morning took about 20 minutes of
Yeah.
total compute time, but it was a very complex task I was asking it to do. I was asking it to map this assessment data to
Oh,
a Harvard Business Review article that talked about the last 8% is that difference between high performing teams versus meaning the unspoken 8% that we don't talk about in a meeting. And so I was
yeah.
taking these 6 executives' data, which by the way is not out in the public domain for the large language model to know about. I've turned that feature off, but looking at yeah. So anyway, it's just amazing what it can do for me
All
and
right.
my
So
clients.
let's
Yeah.
talk about who are the people you're looking for that you like to contact you? Because again, you have this executive knowledge. This is what you build, working with executives. Who are the right people that should contact you?
Any leader of a company or a division or a group or team of people or a company themselves that is looking, because I have coaches that work for me as well that are looking to the term I would use is level up. What is it? You may think you're a good leader already, but what does it look like to go from a on a 1 to 10 scale from a 7 to a 9 or an 8 to a 10? People that are looking, having the same ethos that I do, meaning that they want to invest in people to help them be better citizens, better people versus another widget in the matrix, if you will. So those are the people that are really wanting to invest, number one, in themselves,
Yes.
to be better and willing to look in the mirror and willing to roll up the sleeves and do some of the fun, challenging work that we do, which is yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
kind. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I hope, where are you located, by the way, for people?
I am in the Indianapolis area during the regular months. During the winter months, we winter a good bit down in Fort Myers, Florida, but have a plane ticket will travel. So,
Okay. I just want to know your area just because if I make it in the ventures, I always go past Indianapolis at times. And then I
oh,
also go
cool.
into
Where
Florida
are you
for travel.
based?
I'm out in Mentor, Ohio, outside of Cleveland, but I'm born and raised
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
sure.
All right.
Okay.
So
Well,
check us out. Go to check out Storehouse Media Group for all things podcasting, media, and ghostwriting. But for you, Ed, where can we people find you?
they can find me at edchaffin.com, www.edchaffin.com. Email is ed@edchaffin.com. That's the
All
easiest
right.
way to get a hold of me.
All right.
And
Appreciate
that's
it, Ed.
with two F's, by the way.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Uh,
That was the special simulcast. Neil Haley Show on the Storehouse Media Group podcast, guys. Take care.